Today, I had the pleasure of talking to Annika Mang, the author of Hikes for Families, and as well, the creator of the hiking app for families called TrailCollectiv. She talks about in this episode so many fun things. My favorites are why the term family friendly doesn't really always tell the full story when we're looking for something to do with our kids. She also reflects on doing the West Coast Trail with her kids before the recommended age, and she shares more about that story and what that looked like. And then she also jumps into sharing how when her first baby was born, she really kind of pushed to keep her identity and what her adventures looked like versus when her second daughter was born and what that kind of looked like. So this conversation, she really is honest and shares really cool stories and practical ideas. So I know that you're going to love this episode. So continue listening with me. Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Hello, welcome to the Let's Go Outside podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Annika Mang to the show today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much. I love that our names are so similar. I love that.
So fun.
Yeah.
Okay, give us the inside scoop. Tell us about yourself. We want to know who's in your family. What is your favorite things to do together? And could you share where your love for the outdoors came from?
Yeah. So I have a family of 4 plus a dog, a really wild dog named Yuki, who was named after Ukulele, so like the island. It's one of our favorite places in the world. And then I have 2 daughters, Etta and Julia. Etta is 11, almost 12 years old. And then Julia just turned 9. She actually just turned 10. I can't believe it. So both my girls are in double digits. And then my husband, he does research in FDOR, very into ultra running. My girls are kind of love everything. So from getting outside, doing trail runs, hiking, snowboarding, cross-country skiing, to my youngest is performing in a musical on Thursday with her school, loves that. They're both, my oldest wants to be a scientist when she grows up, so she's very into, I didn't expect this, but super into school, both of my girls. They just love it and put in look at an assignment and they'll be like, there's so much homework. But I learned that they make the homework because they just want to do more. If it's a project, they'll make something, and they just love to be creative and just kind of do those extra things. So it's super fun. And then myself, I'm the founder of Born to be Adventurous, which is a content creation platform. And I like to share about all of the things hiking and adventuring and snowboarding with families. And then I have TrailCollectiv, which is a hiking app for families, and also just an app that gets you outside together.
I love that. And we're going to definitely dive more into that. But I just love how you guys are like, these are our interests. Let's dive in. Let's do it. And supporting each other. And it sounds like you're proud of the girls, but you're also like, can we just go outside? You're like, stop studying.
They're it's so busy. It's just, I think when my kids were little, even when I was in university, I played rugby for the University of Alberta, and it just was busy, all the time. And same when my kids were little, it felt busy, but we were at home more and outside and just doing kind of what we wanted. But we've entered this new stage of busy that I didn't expect to have. Because I was always like, we're this outdoor, unstructured play family, all this kind of stuff. And my kids are like, no, we like to do all these things. So I'm running along with them. And I literally work all day, come home, make dinner, and then run them to everything and do everything. And then I have 30 minutes to 40 minutes by myself at night or with my husband, and then we go to sleep and do it again.
And that's part of it, right? Being like, okay, we love unstructured play, and then seeing how it changes over the years and the seasons that you're in. And you are doing an awesome job, though, following as they are interested and, taking them to those things. That's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love that. Did you grow up going into the outdoors?
Yeah, so my families would take us camping every summer. Even when I was younger, my family didn't have a ton of money at all. But they always made sure to take us on family vacations, and it would always end up being like camping, usually in the mountains. There was one summer where they were like, we can't make it out, but we still think it's so important to have these family vacations. And so we camped, I think, an hour from Saskatoon, so my dad could still go into work, but we would still have that camping experience. And those are things I didn't know growing up, but they just really valued getting us outside together and just being together. It was never as epic as the adventures that I'm doing now. So I don't know how that happened. I think my brain is wired in that I like to push myself to do things. I think that's just kind of my nature. Even for playing rugby, it's like I love just going and like having the ball, running through people who are trying to tackle me, or like going and smashing and hitting someone and tackling them. So I think I just am wired in that way where I like to have a level of pushing myself. So I think I just kind of took it to that next level.
Well, it sounds like it did start when you were young and camping. And I think those maybe if it's small, or even feel like we were car camping, it wasn't the big adventures that we would do now. I think even going outside, being connected with, putting your bare feet in grass or like touching bugs, I think that is an experience that so many people don't get to experience. So that does start that love. And then it sounds like you took it to the next level. So that's really cool.
100%. And my mom even had this massive garden, and we would just like every summer help with weeding it, helping with like planting the flowers, getting the corn, all that kind of stuff. And we just spent so much time. And there was lots of times even where I would just, like, I tell my kids, like, I would go outside in the winter and I make these like snow creations. And like I one time made one that was a horse, and I'd like gallop all around, the backyard, and then I'd ride the horse that I made out of snow. And it was like I just played outside. I just was I like to get out there and, get a little dirty and just play.
Yeah. And then it grew into this.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What has going outside with your kids looked like over the years? What was it like when they're small?
Yeah. After my first, I think it was very different after my second, but I think after my first, I was trying to hold on to my identity, I think, before I had kids. And so I really pushed. Like, I was like, okay, at 6 weeks, we're doing this hike. And then at this time, we're going to do this thing. And I was trying to do and run and, kind of keep that piece of adventure side, because my husband and I had gotten into lots of adventures. So we did a lot of that when they were baby carrier stage. After my second, I took more time to just be slow and just embrace the moment. And I actually loved that better. I think I did need to go through that with my first, just because I was trying to figure out who I was as a new mom. And just as much as you like want to say it doesn't change, it does change you. And if you can embrace it and feel it, then it's just so much more enjoyable. And so I think after my second, I was like, this is my life now. And now I just have a new kid, and I'm going to just take it slower. As they got past the baby wearing stage, we did a lot of really slow but wonderful trails, just getting them outside, a lot of toddler-led walks and hikes and exploration. My favorite was always going on a short 2-kilometer hike or 1 kilometer where you're just kind of wandering the whole time looking at rocks, and it takes you forever, but it's just a nice time with friends. And then you go out for coffee after. It was always like, I feel like a lot of it ended up just being like this and then a coffee, or going here and then the playground with the coffee. But yeah, a lot of outdoor play. I was the type of person, some people don't need this, but I found when kids cried inside or whined inside, it was like, this is over exaggerating, but like it was unbearable. Whereas when they're outside and crying and whining, it just felt way more bearable to me. And so that was where I found most of my enjoyment, was taking them outside, and then it just was more enjoyable. So yeah, a lot of it was like unstructured play and just wandering and getting dirty. My oldest, though, funny enough, because I always really believed in letting them get dirty and feel the earth and all that stuff, but my oldest hated getting anything on her and hated being dirty. And like absolutely detested it. So like she'd get a little piece of dirt and she'd be like, get it off me. So I'd have to wipe it off. Whereas my youngest, there's a picture of her just like head to toe, like mud splashed all on her, just like soaked that up. So yeah, it's just interesting the different personalities and how you can ascribe to even just like a way that you think, you want your kids to be, and they're just going to do it differently.
Yeah, let them be them.
Yeah.
See how it goes. So fun to see it, to compare our kids as they grow up and just see the differences, because I think you don't realize that until you're like, oh, there's a couple of them and they're all different, and it's
totally.
So
I love those differences. And then my husband and I have this thing where even though they're different in this moment, it doesn't mean that's how they'll be in a year or 2 years from now too. So making sure they can grow. My oldest now is more okay with getting dirty and is more okay with like those, rugged kind of things and all that kind of stuff. So I think, just
totally
let them grow how they want to and change.
That's totally cool. And now you are snowboarding together, and are you hiking together these days? What does it look like these days for your adventures outside?
Yeah, so this winter, it was a lot of snowboarding. So we spent a lot of time snowboarding. Our kids now are at this new stage of a lot of soccer. Like they love soccer. So we are doing that a lot in our time. And I'm finding it's only in the last year or two. We used to go, so we live in Saskatchewan, which is farther away from mountains. And so for us to get there is a lot. But we used to still go once or twice a month and be there a lot up until probably last year and this year. Last year started and then this year even more. So our time in the mountains or snowboarding or going on those kind of adventures is usually on the kids' holidays now. So, which has been different. Last year I was resistant to it, and this year I've embraced it, and I actually am really enjoying and loving watching the kids and all their activities, from soccer to being on student council to in the musical, everywhere they are going now, which is a lot. I've had to tell them you gotta slow down because it's a lot. So we've done it, but we still go on a lot of snowboarding. We still have to get outside together. We go on walks, go on hikes. We have a backcountry plan this summer, which we always do, and we have plans to be away. I think I'm used to being away and doing a lot, and still we do a lot of times get away once a month, but it's just less for me, so it just feels different, which is good. Yeah, but it's good. It's a good stage to be in. Our kids ask to go on backcountries, which is really nice. They're asking us like, when is our next one going to be? So I do love that as well. But we're definitely entered a different stage. And I think I'm trying to embrace it because I don't think it's a long stage. Like it might be here for 4 or 5 more years and then they grow up and done. And as much as I can just be part of whatever they're doing, I just love it.
Okay. So I believe it was in 2020 you self-published a hiking guidebook. Would you tell us about that? I want to hear about the process and if you hike those trails with your girls, and tell us more.
Yeah. So in 2015, I had this idea to write this book. So that was quite a bit before. In 2015, I wanted to write this book. And then I had my 2 young kids. They both were 1 at the time. 1 was about to turn 2. And we were going on these hikes and I was trying to record the information. And then I thought, this is never going to happen, this book. So I started to post everything on a website and go from there. That's actually when I also thought about creating a hiking app for families. But then I realized tech is so hard. How am I ever going to do this? That's never going to happen. Fast forward, I believe it was 2018. I was like, I'm going to do this book now. My kids are a little older. I feel like I have the time. We've done all these hikes together. And so then, I started to kind of pull from my blog posts, my pictures. There was a few that I had to redo again, and they were shorter, which was nice. So I could do them either on my own or with the kids. But I'd say the majority of the trails were done with the kids. I think there's maybe a handful that weren't, that I wanted to kind of get in there as well. And then I had to go through the process of researching how books are made. I was considering going with a publisher. In the end, I decided to self-publish to go through that process. I thought if I'm going to do another one, I'll probably go through a publisher just because it's a lot of work. Just like knowing how the text in a book has to be, how the formatting, all that kind of stuff was just a lot. Thankfully, I have a good friend, Amanda Froese. Shout out to her. She helped with some of the design after, because I think she saw how I designed it and then made some tweaks and made it look way better. So I'm really thankful for that. And then we ran a Kickstarter to fundraise the selling of the book, so people pre-ordered them, and that was out. Then now they're selling it and published, and it was super exciting. I'm so happy I did it. It was a lot
Wow.
of work though.
That's so cool. I really would love to write a cookbook one day, so I'll have to pick your brain when I'm closer too. But the self-publishing, I know I've heard so many people talk about how much work it is and how overwhelming and how it takes way longer. So that's incredible that you did that project.
Yeah, it's just like having to deal with it all. Like the marketing side, I don't know if publishers don't necessarily help that much with that. They'll help it get into the stores and things like that. But the actually like formatting and then the editing and then putting it all together, sending it to the printers, like all that stuff takes just a lot of time as well. So
And that book, for anyone listening, would you share what areas it covers?
yeah, so it's called Hikes for Families, A Guide to the Canadian Rockies. And it covers Kananaskis, Banff, and Calgary area. So there's trails for families. I'd say it's for anyone, even if you don't have young kids or kids. My mom always thinks I should have said it's like a walking book. She's like, these are perfect trails for me. So it is just great for a good wander. Some are harder than others, but it is geared towards families and just helping them get out on those really small trails that, might take a healthy, able-bodied person 15 minutes, but it'll take you 1 to 2 hours to do, depending on the age of your kid. Or they're really nice for trails where you go with, your older kids, go on a hike, and then you go, out for ice cream or something after as well. So I also think
That's
it's
so
really
fun.
beautiful. Like I really wanted it to be pretty. And just have the color in there, and it's easy to get around it. So I love that. And I love that there's some families, they reach out and they tell me, they're like, our goal is to try to do all these trails, and then they write the dates their kids did it on, so that it's almost like a baby book for them, where they can say like, these are the dates you did these trails. I love.
That's so special. Wow. So through the whole process from 2015, you started to when you publish, and even now, what do you look back and feel most proud about in that process?
I think that I just did it. Like it was so much work. And then it was actually really hard because at the tail end when I was finishing it, I thought we were going to be in the area for longer. And then my husband got this really great job in Regina, Saskatchewan at the University of Regina, and we had to move, and it was incredibly difficult and challenging. But the fact that I still did it, still ran it, and got it out there, I'm just proud of myself. And with kids around, like they weren't in daycare, they weren't in school. I was losing my mind, but it was, so I
Wow.
did it. I don't know.
That is actually incredible. That's the stage of life I'm in right now. And I'm like, I can't even imagine writing a book right now.
Oh,
So, wow, good job. That's so special. And that it's still selling now, still relevant. I love that.
yeah. Yeah, you can find it in some stores or we sell it on Amazon and then on our website. But it's nice to get it in some stores, and then you don't have to pay for like shipping and stuff. But it's been pretty cool.
Yes. Okay. Changing topics a little bit here. I've heard you say before, like family-friendly hike. That's such an unhelpful term. And so many things are just generically talked about in that way. And I think that's so real. That's so real. We're all at just different stages, and we don't all just fit into the family-friendly zone. So would you share more about that?
Yeah, I think I kind of was like thinking about this, and there's kind of two problems with the term family friendly that I think there is. So one is like the variability of the term. You might have kids that are 1 and 2 and 3 years old wanting to go and hike a trail, but that looks very different, like a 9 and 10-year-old on a trail. Something that might take them, an hour or 2 hours might take that even first time family with that 8 or 9-year-old, it might take them only 15 minutes. So I think like the relative of saying how easy or hard it is and all that kind of stuff, and saying, oh, this is family friendly. Is it not? The other thing that I really don't love about it is that it can kind of can be an exclusionary term. So let's say I say this trail is not family friendly. Well, a lot of families might not even think that they can do it, or they might not even try. Or if they do try it, they might be judged for going on it because it's not family friendly. And I think the best part is it's important to know your kids, your family, and know what's best for them. Start with something easy and say, okay, this like worked for our family. This was family friendly for us, but not, I don't know if it'll be family friendly for you, but for us it was. And then we might try something more challenging or easier, depending on how you're doing. But we do whatever's works for us. And I think that's kind of what really needs to be said is that every trail, I balance it because I know that people enjoy the term family friendly in terms of finding things. So it's like this challenging thing, but I also don't want families to feel like they can't go on something because it's not family friendly.
Totally. And I think we're slowly moving away from, or people are realizing like there's a broader spectrum of family friendly. Like that is a super easy searchable term that we can maybe put into the internet now and find more things. Exactly what you're saying. Like knowing what our kids' ability is a much more helpful tool.
Yeah. And we just never wanted to limit it to anyone. For me, it's like putting out the information there and then saying, hey, now you make a decision of whether you think you can go on it. I can help you with it and say, like, these are, what your kid needs to be capable of doing. And you need to be prepared for it because some of the harder ones, you're going to have to be okay with encouraging them a little bit more. But instead giving them those, like, individuals and families, those tools of what they want to handle and if they want to handle it.
Yeah. Have you had experiences where your family has done trips or hikes that haven't been labeled for families, but you did it?
Yes, a bunch. We have now, especially like we've always kind of pushed the boundaries. I don't think that people need to do that, or it's even good for a lot of people to. For us, when our kids were... So one of the most notable ones that we even had, I guess, the most pushback from other people was when we hiked the West Coast Trail with our kids. So we did it when our youngest was 6 years old and our oldest was 8 years old. And we did the full trail south to north. And it's one of the most it's a very challenging trail in Canada. And we knew our kids and felt like they would, if we took the time and encouraged them and were able to do it, we felt like they were capable of doing it. I also knew that with my husband and with my fitness and mental strength, it sounds bad, but also with his endurance, he's just got this incredible endurance to carry a lot of extra weight and the ability to tell stories for like 8 hours to kids. So I just knew we would be able to do it. And we took all the safety stuff we needed to and had, plans if things went awry and things like that. So we knew that we were prepared and ready to do it with our kids. But I think that's definitely one of the most notable ones. Our first day we're hiking and you go up this massive ladder that is like taller than, a regular house, and it's straight up and it's so terrifying. So we did that first, and then we're hiking along this trail and this guy goes by us and he goes, "What are you doing on this trail?" And he's like, "Well, good luck." And he just was so negative, just so like judgmental. We just kept on, and everyone else was so amazing. And actually, we got cheers when we got to the first campsite. Everyone was cheering for us. I actually cried because I'll be honest, it was a definite push for our family. And I was like, we made it. I'm so happy.
That's so beautiful. And surely you prepared for that. Like, it might have been out of your comfort zone or maybe a bit beyond what you're used to, but you weren't going in there with sandals, or you were going in there with the right gear where,
we spent like 8 to 10 months prepping the kids mentally for it. They helped plan it. They helped set up the, bags, all of our food. We went up and down ladders, learning how to do, having 3 points of contact when you're going up the ladders. Our kids are climbers, so we used to take them outdoor climbing a lot, and even indoor, so they're used to those heights. But yeah, we did a ton of kind of just that prepping. We'd go on just walks around our block just to be like, okay, we're just gonna go for a walk. I was mostly worried about my fitness. My kids have always had pretty good fitness. I think they just are, I don't know, they just do lots of activities. It's so different, when your kids play soccer all the time and are getting out there and doing activities and on the playground, like they're literally doing all that strength on the monkey bars every single day.
And I think that's such a good point. Like, often it's not even the physical aspect of it for our kids or even for us. It's often the mental capacity that we have or how much we can push ourselves or believe in ourselves to do something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then just knowing how to be safe on it. Like there's this one section where there's the boulder section and it gets extremely wet. And so it can be super slippery. And so we just took a lot of time and we made sure we had enough time with the tie to just, it's just like a big obstacle course that you have to go through and just take your time, right? Because I think the biggest thing in the backcountry is injuries. You don't want to get like a really bad injury and then be stuck waiting for someone to rescue you.
Yeah. We did the Juan de Fuca, which I would say it's also on Vancouver Island. But from my understanding, it's like a tame version of the West Coast Trail. And we did it with my son when he was 6 months old. And there was people on the trail with blundstones. And I remember being like, the other thing, funny thing, they were carrying a puppy. They had like those slings you can get for your baby. They were carrying a puppy in that sling for like 5 days. It was I was like, good luck. Like you're going to have mud fully in your boots. And I remember also someone saying to me, is that a doll? And like they looked at and just the comments you get. And so I think it's a different stage because when I could carry my kids, I think that's different than your kids have to do the whole thing. Because I saw kids on that trail that were similar ages to your kids, probably a bit older. And I thought that's got to be harder than me carrying my baby, honestly, because my baby just sleeps and my husband's carrying all the weight. But like to have that energy to motivate your kids and to encourage them and to take care of them, I think that you need a bigger capacity for that. So that's such a cool trip you did with your family. And that is really encouraging and motivating to me to hear that you did that.
Yeah, it was super fun. We did the Juan de Fuca a few years later. And so I feel like they're both challenging in different ways. There's a lot of like technical aspects of the West Coast Trail that you just have to be aware, like a lot of spots to get injured and it's harder to get access to emergency as well. So like you're going on lots of ladders, lots of technical climbing of terrain. It's hard to explain. It's like you're going up these routes, but you're almost having to climb because it's so, I don't know. It's just like that kind of technical aspect. Whereas Juan de Fuca has more like that on our kids. It's like almost the hard elevate. Like it's not as fun going up. It's more fun going up a ladder or over things. But when you're going up a hill, like the inland hill, with like just like, it's a little bit more tough in that sense. So it's just different.
Totally.
And then carrying a baby, the one challenge like we found, because we did stuff with our kids when they were babies, but the one challenge is like when they're, finding the right time, we would almost speed hike when they were sleeping in the carrier to get as far as we could so that they were happy. Yeah. So there's just different challenges. And then I found breastfeeding took a lot on me in terms of my strength while being able to do it.
It's so true. And what you're saying too, I think is it can change even within month to month with how much they're sleeping and how much they're feeding. And to find those sweet spots. Because I even think like once they're 7, 8 months, like once they're crawling, they don't want to be in the carrier all day. But when my son was 5 months, like he could sit there all day. And I mean, he fed for a lot longer at those times where he was feeding like half an hour in a session,
Yeah.
But yeah, finding those sweet sections with your kids and just going for it. Yeah.
Totally.
And I think the point there, what I would say is keep doing it, like keep going in each season. And then there might be a season where like, this is super hard, but then like go soon after and it will change.
Totally. Yeah. We've had camping trips where the kids like didn't really sleep all night and would just like cry unless I was like feeding them or we were walking them. And then a month later, they would sleep all through the night. It'd be a perfect camping trip. But I think a lot of people give up after that, first bad time. But it just changes. Yeah, you're right. Like every month, especially when they're little.
That's so good. I get asked quite a bit about the gear that we use while on international trips, especially about our lightweight playpen that we use. We'll bring that into the rock climbing crag or hike it into a beach and really use it for daytime naps anywhere. And so I put together a travel gear list, and I'm really hoping that this doesn't just cover like basic things that you would find on any travel list, but it's unique to the fact that these are specific things that might not be deemed as travel. And they are things that we have used over the last 5 years of traveling with our kids. So I've also included my kids' favorite activities for the plane and for road tripping as well. We have been really enjoying house sitting lately, and so I also put all the details in there. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it is all linked in the show notes, so you'll find the link there. If you are into making healthy homemade snacks, I wanted to let you know that I have a huge library of homemade muffin recipes. They're all healthy. My goal is to make them nutrient dense with things like fruit, high in protein, whole wheat flour, low in sugar, no dairy. I mean, whatever you're looking for, it's there. The goal is that it won't break the bank and that you can actually find these ingredients, most being in your house. So go to besidethemountain.com/muffins and you'll find all of my recipes. My favorites are the gingerbread pumpkin muffin, the whole wheat apple muffins with banana, and the blender orange muffins. You're gonna love them. So now, from taking it from the family friendly rating, you have taken that and seen that there's this gap where we kind of need to know the facts. We need to know how many kilometers or miles something is. We want to know the elevation or kind of how difficult, like, is it an obstacle course type trail, more like the West Coast Trail, or is it a lot of elevation like the Wandafuka? Like, what does that look like? And then you saw that need and you have now this app. You want to share about that?
Yeah, so it's so funny that I now have an app. I think it's just one
Yes.
of those things that everything eventually just led to me being like, no, I feel like there's still this need. After I wrote my book, I had people, because I've lived so many places, asking for a book near Edmonton, Saskatchewan, Vancouver. And I just thought this is the best way to do it, because then we can work together as families to help each other find where we want to go. And give us each other those tips. So one of the things I thought was really missing in other places was there is, a typical easy, moderate, hard rating on trails. That rating avoids and doesn't really touch on those like really easier, like for a lot of people, the 2 kilometers with minimal elevation, or the 1 kilometer, or the 500 meters, but are still worthy hikes for young kids or some adults as well that, maybe aren't able to get out. And so for us, we really wanted to hone in on like, how do we tell people that in an easy way? So we have a 5-point rating system. That was really important. And it goes across like all of the trails with the way that we kind of take out the information from each trail. And so we have easiest, easy, moderate, hard, and hardest, so that people can kind of more easily know, okay, an easiest trail, I know this is going to be like, pretty much anyone can try it. If it doesn't work out and you have to go back, it's like easy to carry your kid out or easy to like just walk those few steps out. It won't be, you're not committing a lot to it. So it's really important for us to touch on that. And kind of give them that. And then for us also to the information. So whoever is adding the trails, we really encourage them to add in, like, is there a point if you were a parent going on this trail that you would want to know about? Like, is there a really steep drop off, or is there a ladder that you might have to climb that's there that maybe you don't want to tackle with your kids, or maybe if you're going by yourself. So for me, I would go and take my toddlers. There were 2 of them hiking by myself, and I didn't love if there was a cliff and I was going by myself. If I was with a friend or my husband and we could both manage them, then it was fine. That was my comfort zone. But I wanted to know, and I always felt like I was going in blind when I was trying to find a hike. And I don't want families to have to feel that way before going on. We also encourage people to let us know if there's something really cool nearby. So like there's an amazing trail in Crow's Nest Pass that starts and ends at a spray park. And I just think that's so beautiful. You get to walk this short, easy hike to a waterfall, and then you can end it and have a picnic and your kids can play in a spray park. And I just think that those little bits of information are so huge for families, because how amazing is it to go on a hike and then have a cool activity after for your kids? Or like a really great, I think I was telling you this before we started, but going out for coffee after, or having coffee at the playground, like where are those spots? I want to know.
Yeah, that's so good. So for the people listening, what places have you documented hikes in?
Yeah, so we have a lot, mostly in primarily Western Canada. So BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. We do have quite a few popping up around Ontario area and Chicago. And then we also have kind of in the States. We do have a smattering of ones coming out of in the States, like Montana, Utah area, California, and then a ton in Hawaii as well. So we're kind of all over North America. We haven't opened up outside of North America yet, but we will soon because we have a really cool new record feature that we just launched and have been working so hard because I really wanted families to be able to say, hey, like, let's, like, I think about with my girls getting older, it's like, let's like, have a challenge where we get outside, a couple times a week, even just from our house and record it. And then we can at least, these are where we document our family outdoor adventures, whether it's a walk right outside our door or if we go and hike a trail. But I want to have this place where I can document my family's outdoor kind of together adventures.
Okay. So is that open to everyone?
Yeah. So we actually I haven't even really announced yet. Life has just been so crazy. I feel like being a women entrepreneur and then also a mom who wants to just be in their kid's life is just so hard. Like when I first started this in 2020, I got one kid in part-time daycare, one time in school, and then COVID hit and they were back home with me and I was like, how am I going to do this? It's like so hard. But I've just learned I need to embrace like the time with the kids. So I'm planning to launch it, but I guess I can say here, check out the record feature on the app. But we just launched it. So it's really exciting because you can record anywhere and just like keep track. I'll hopefully be adding in photos soon, but you'll record your map and then you can leave little notes, which is kind of fun. And then so it's pretty cool. I'm excited about it.
Okay, I have 2 more questions about the app. You have mentioned little bits here and there, but I want to know, like, do you have an overarching vision, mission for the app that kind of keeps you running and keeps you motivated to do this? And secondly, what's the process to add trails to the app?
Yeah, so our kind of overall vision, it's kind of bold, but we want to become the leading platform for inspiring families worldwide to spend meaningful time together in nature. So that's kind of our big vision. I would just love for every family to just know and believe that it's important to get outside and to spend time together. And then our mission is to bring more families outside together and provide tools that inspire and make it easier for them to be active, playful, and adventurous. So that's kind of what we really focus on. And I think that's also where kind of the community comes in and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what we're about. What was the last question? I know you had one more.
How to add trails to the app.
So how to add trails. So right now, there's kind of a couple ways you can do it. So we have the new record feature that I mentioned. So you can record a trail. And so it makes it easier to do it in the app. And then once you've logged it after, you go to your profile. There's 3 little dots. You click on the 3 dots and you click add trail. You have to add a photo, add information, kind of all the different features, all that kind of stuff. And then you click submit. We have your email if we need to follow up because there's sometimes we want a little bit more information. Another great way is just to email us at hello@TrailCollectiv.com. And that's Trail Collective without an E. And we can set you up with like a Google form or that kind of thing. But we do have some requirements before we approve them. So if you just add one, we do want a photo. We do want some very specific information so that families are getting that little bit more that they need to make a decision on the trail and whether they want to hike it. So we do require that. So we would probably reach out. Usually after you add the first one, it becomes easier to add more because you kind of know what to do.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Annika. I love your mission and vision. That's beautiful. And I think it's important to have something big that you're working towards and that keeps you going. Yeah. So you are big into hiking, going outside. We would love to hear your recommendations. I just polled my audience a couple days ago, and there's a ton of people in Western Canada. And so would you share some of your favorite backpacking trips that you've done with your girls at different ages?
Yeah. Well, when our kids were babies, I don't know if I recommend the trails that we did. Like our first one was a disaster, so it was kind of funny. I could go into that. But kind of for like the young, like if you're just starting out and you're wanting to go, whether you're with a toddler or you're with a baby, it's busy, but I almost enjoy busier hikes with kids because then you have more support if something were to go wrong. Lindeman Lake near Chilliwack, BC is absolutely stunning, just beautiful. It is like uneven terrain and it is a little bit slippery, but it's short and sweet. Point Backcountry and Peter Lougheed Provincial Park is just a stunning views like the whole way. And that one is a great one that's not, I think it's even like pretty flat, like the whole way there, but it's absolutely gorgeous. A really great spot. As your kids get older, some kind of 3 to 5-year-olds might enjoy this, but it might be a little too much, and better for like the 8 to 12-year-olds and up is Three Sisters Lake in Kananaskis. And there's lots of really beautiful day hikes around there, and you can stop along Point. You can go to Point Backcountry first, and then you can go to, or you can skip that one, and I think it's Porcupine River, but I should have written that down. But I have to write things down because my brain forgets life things now these days, and I've just embraced it. So yeah, so Three Sisters Lake in Kananaskis is absolutely beautiful. Pickle Jar Lakes as well. It's like a really good one as a one stop as well. Funny story about that. My co-founder Jess Sprout, she added that trail, but she said she sent me a picture of her dad there in jeans and sandals he had hiked there with like a pack of beer. So it's just funny just to think. I mean, obviously, I think be more prepared than that, but we were laughing at, you know, like some of that old kind of way of doing things.
That's so funny. Yes, I interviewed Kat Badgery, and that was like her favorite. She told me one of her favorite experiences was Pickle Jar Lakes. So that's good. 2 recommendations for
Yes.
Pickle Jar Lakes. Okay.
And then for longer adventures, if your family is, I mean, it depends on kind of your level of kind of intensity, but I really love Mount Assiniboine, and there's lots of even really good trails along the way that you can even make it shorter or longer and not go all the way there. We actually have them on the app as well. And then the Wanda Fuca as well, like that, whether you do the whole trail or parts of it, there's so many access points that you can go in and even just hike a bit. And there's nothing like camping by the ocean. Like, it's just so stunning. And then if you're up for a wild adventure, put West Coast Trail on your list. Like, it's definitely, like, I think it's a really great one for many kind of 16-year-olds, you know, 16 to 18-year-olds. Like, it's a really great family bonding trail to do if your kids are up for that kind of intense.
Yes. Yes. And I believe one of my podcasts that came out in December, the family talked about doing it with their twins who were like in the tween stage too. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in doing that one, listen to that podcast also.
Yeah.
But those are great. We're going to love those recommendations. Thank you. But do you want to quickly share about your awful experience having an infant in the backcountry?
It was like
Now we're all curious.
It was awful. So we like went with another family. It was with my youngest. They had I think it was 3 or 4-year-old and then a baby as well. And then we also went with a friend that didn't have kids as well. That was kind of just maybe 2 of them anyways. And they were up with us as well. We were doing Helm Creek, which is just outside of Vancouver area. You can see Black Tusk, which is a very famous mountain in the area in the background. And it's quite steep. Like, it's quite a hard hike, quite steep. My like pregnancy age stages and my post-pregnancy, like, I was just tired a lot. Like, I threw up my whole pregnancy and then after just tired. So we're hiking up there and it was fine. It was fun. We were all excited. Day 2 is fine, but my husband's starting to get like a little sick. And we're not sure if he got sick from like the water or I learned in that trip too that like I am always going to take care of my own water. Like, I'm going to always make sure I have filtered water on a backcountry and never think that anybody else will do that as well. And there could have been another reason too. But then we only stayed up there 2 nights. Most of the nights I was up breastfeeding all night. So I just was like depleting myself just to keep my baby happy. And I was just exhausted. But it was beautiful. I was still like, this is amazing. It's so good. Like, oh, we're changing their diaper on a rock with the black tusk in the background. Or, oh, she's taking her first steps like on the hike, all this kind of stuff. She was walking before that, but she was, walking on this amazing hike and it was so beautiful. And then it was time for us to go down. And that morning I got so sick too. So my husband had it, but like I was so sick and I was just throwing up everywhere and just like sick both ends. Like, it was awful. So then we're supposed to hike out. I put my baby on the back and we're walking. My husband has this big pack. I have the baby with some extra stuff and we're hiking down this mountain, but like eventually it gets to the point where like every 5 steps I'm throwing up. Like I just can't. And then eventually it ends up I'm like shaking like uncontrollably. Like I'm like I can't move anymore. Like I can't do anything. And so then my husband had his big pack on his front and then our baby on the back for a while. So he's carrying like it's a big backpack because it's like all of our stuff. And I'm able to walk like a little bit faster, but still really sick. And then we say, okay, let's try to have Annika like carry the stuff again. I put the baby back on my backpack again. Like it's like my body just can't just start shaking with the like extra weight and I'm shaking and throwing up everywhere and I can't handle it. Eventually I look at him and I'm like, we have to leave like our bag behind and you have to carry the baby. Like I was just like, I'm going to die out here is how I was feeling like death. So he wasn't like completely thrilled, but we left our bag on the side and he carried the baby out with like some of our gear and I just like hiked slowly out. It was awful. Like I'd never felt so awful. It was like the worst experience going down this mountain. We get down and then my husband's like, I'm going to go and see if I can find our bag back up there. But it was like a long hike down, like probably like 5 hours. I don't even know.
Wow.
But we're down and I booked like the most expensive hotel in Squamish because I was like, I can't even drive home. I'm so sick. And that was the only hotel open. He goes, and thankfully, like our friends that are like didn't have kids were starting to bring our bag down because I think they realized like that was our bag. So they brought it down. My husband met them partway and then brought it down. And then we ended up he was like a student at the time. Like we had no money and we stayed in this like amazing hotel while I was so sick and had just the TV on for our baby. Like just like watch this. She was like a year at the time and just like I can't even like move like anything to keep you entertained because I'm so sick. But yeah, it was like the worst experience. But a funny story now. Like it's super
hilarious story.
We're like, this was your first backcountry.
Wow. I feel like you're such a keener. That's amazing. What a crazy story. I'm glad that you can laugh and tell that. And I'm sure that your daughter also can. Like, how awesome is that? She's like, yeah, I did my first trip when I was 1 and this is what it was like. That's so wild.
It's fun because I have a lot of it documented on like an old blog called the Ace Family Adventures. And I think I might have reposted it on Born to be Adventurous, but she's doing this like life autobiography in school. She was doing it. And it was just so fun to like send her all these links to stories of her life. And it was just fun.
That's so special. As we close out, would you tell us about a favorite moment with your kids outside?
So these ones are like super memorable. So I remember when we did the West Coast Trail, some part of me is like, I think about it more than my husband. You get kind of worried, like, should we have done this? Like, is this crazy? It feels crazy. But like hearing my 8-year-old daughter, like later on in the trail being like, this is the best obstacle course ever, Mom. Like she just is having the time of her life. And then my oldest kind of nearing the end of the trail, we're walking just her and I, and she looks at me and she's like, Mom, thanks for believing in me that I could do this trail. And for her, it was just like this like thing that she like didn't know she could do. Mama. And she did it. And it was such a big thing. So it was really exciting.
Do you have one unique tip for moms who want to keep exploring?
Yeah, I wrote something down. So I'm going to just read it because I feel like it's one that I wanted to remember to say here. So, 1, believe and know that you're an amazing mother and doing it right. I don't think we're often told that, but like as moms, you are doing it right. And then don't put pressure on yourself and take it easy on yourself. If you don't feel like you're able to get out enough, take those kids on adventures, but don't expect them to be perfect, but enjoy the ones that are seamless and easy because when those happen, it's amazing. So I wanted to kind of leave with that because I thought, yeah.
That's so good, Annika. Thank you for writing that up and being thoughtful and sharing that. I really appreciate that. As we say goodbye, I would like people to know where they can follow along with you online, buy your guidebook, get the app, let us know all the things.
Yeah, so definitely make sure to follow Trail Collective at Trail Collective. And I like to say without an E because there's no E. You can download the app at trailcollectiv.com. You can also find my personal account at Born to be Adventurous. I also have a website there if you're ever looking for inspiration, borntobeadventurous.com. And I think I said my book already, but Hikes for Families, A Guide to the Canadian Rockies. And then I kind of just wanted to leave you with kind of a call to action, a challenge kind of for your family. So I encourage you to get out, you try to get out 3 times a week with your kids. And you can either find a trail on Trail Collective or you can record just any walk and time outside on the app too. And then you have that kind of as a record and you can add notes on how it went and just kind of remember those memories. So when you look back and you think I did nothing and you can say, oh, I actually am doing stuff with my kids.
I love that. Thank you so much, Annika. And I'm looking forward to using the app more and recording more stuff. And so I'm so thankful for your dedication to this project and how it's just growing. And I'm so stoked, Annika. So thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening today. I'd love to invite you to join our Facebook group, the Let's Go Outside Facebook group. It's where the conversation keeps going with other moms. We kind of chat about what our favorite places are. I like to encourage people. It's just a really cool place to meet more moms. So you'll find the link to that group in the show notes, along with everything we mentioned today, whether that's gear or the places that we like to explore. So thank you for being here and being a part of this community.